Okay, let's now answer our question where we're required to determine the range of this graph, which is graph of f. So remember from the previous explanation, I just indicated that when we talk about the range of a given graph, we focus on the turning point of the given graph. So this is our turning point. So what we need to do is to calculate the x value at the turning point of the graph. So if we can get the x value at the turning point of this graph, we can be able to determine the y value at the turning point, and from the y value, that's when we can indicate the range of this graph. Obviously, it has a smiling shape, which means the a value is positive. So there are three ways in which you can deal with this type of a question. It all depends on the information that you're given. So in this case, you've got enough information to apply all the strategies that we can use in order to determine either the x value and ultimately the y value of the given graph. So the first option that you have is to use the point A and the point B to determine the x value at the turning point. Remember, this is, you can have a symmetrical line at the turning point of the graph, which means halfway from A to the turning point, it's equals to halfway from the turning point to the other x-intercept of the graph. So now you can sum the x values of these coordinates and divide them by 2. In that way, you'll be having the x value in between. So that's why the formula there is x is equals to x1 plus 2. You divide them by 2. So our x1, it's minus 1. We calculated it in the previous question where I think we're required to determine the coordinates of A and B. So we know our x value at A, it's minus 1. And the x value at B is 3. Then you sum them and divide by 2, you get 1. So that means at that point, you've got your x value being 1. Alternatively, you can use this formula to calculate the axis of symmetry, which is that axis. So if you use this formula, it gives you the x value at the turning point of a given graph. It only applies if you are given the equation or the formula of that graph. So you know your b, it's minus 2, and your a is positive 1. So the formula is x equals to minus b over 2a, which is equals to negative from the formula. In brackets, you just substitute your b, which is minus 2 over 2 into your a, it's 1, and you get a value which is 1. So 1 is the x value at the turning point of this graph. So you used the values from this graph to determine the x value, which is 1. So this is how you score your first mark in answering the question 6.3. So on your second step, you use the formula to determine the y value at the turning point. So already you know the x value, which is 1. So that means if you use 1, you get the corresponding y value where x is 1. So you use the formula and you substitute your x value, then you get the corresponding y value. So that means at this point, you've got your minus 4, which is the turning point of this graph. So now since we calculated the y value of the turning point, we can then make our final comment to say from this point where y is negative 4 going up is the range of this graph. So this graph, it ranges from negative 4 going up to infinity because it keeps on going. Because of these two arrows there, it indicates that this graph, it keeps on going up. But then we ended it there because we are only interested in this portion of the graph.